listening tomorrow at 5:58 to Tweet of the Day, and you can hear more from me in the Tweet of the Week podcast next Sunday.
And you can catch up with all the episodes from the series by downloading BBC iPlayer Radio and searching for Tweet of the Day.
It's 9 o'clock. Good morning. This is Broadcasting House. I'm Johnny Dyke. The headlines. Theresa May has insisted she will not give in to demands for a second referendum on Brexit. The Shadow Chancellor, John McDonnell, has admitted he's worried about the possibility of a split in Labour ranks. Official figures suggest there's been a sharp rise in the number of prison staff caught smuggling contraband. Coming up, a dangerous moment for Labour. Talk of splits ahead of a big vote on anti-Semitism. We'll hear from party grandee Baroness Possum. After scallop wars in the English Channel, I go to the south coast to find out about the mollusk of the moment.
You can do a sort of pump in a few seconds quite rapidly.
It seems like a pretty clever old thing. It seems a shame to eat it.
They're delicious. That's the problem.
Is the sound of the Californian wilderness changing?
2004 was a normal year. Lots of birds and lots of insects at this site. 2015, no water at all. What you hear is silence.
And in a week when Wonga bit the dust, what happens when the receivers take over? We hear from someone who's been through that mill. First, the best news bulletin of the day with Susan Ray.
The Prime Minister has insisted there will be no second referendum or people's vote on the UK's membership of the European Union. Writing in the Sunday Telegraph, Theresa May said such a move would be a gross betrayal of our democracy. Mrs May also pledged that Brussels wouldn't force her into watering down her Chequers Brexit plans. Here's our political correspondent, Chris Mason.
The Prime Minister argues that in the EU referendum, millions of people had their say, and in many cases voted for the first time in decades. She writes that they trusted that their vote would count, and another referendum would be a betrayal of that trust. But a Conservative donor and businessman, Sir Simon Robertson, tells the Observer the exact opposite, insisting it is balderdash to say you can't return to the question. Theresa May claims she is confident the UK will get a good deal with the EU, and while a no-deal Brexit would be a challenge for some, we would get through it and go on to thrive.
The Shadow Chancellor, John McDonnell, has admitted he's worried and saddened at the prospect of the Labour Party splitting amid the row about anti-Semitism. In an interview with the New Statesman magazine, Mr McDonnell says it's something he wants to avoid at all costs. More details from Anthony Zara.
What's striking about John McDonnell's remarks is how candid he is about the prospect of more MPs resigning from the parliamentary party. Yes, I think there are people who are willing to leave the party, he says. I'm saddened by that. I really am saddened, and I'm disappointed. He cites the creation of the SDP in the 1980s when 4 Labour MPs walked out to set up a new party as a precedent he's desperate to avoid. That experience taught him that such a move takes votes away from Labour and, he concludes, means the Tories getting in. It is a huge leap for any MP to leave their parliamentary party, but after Frank Field resigned the whip this week, leadership is clearly nervous more could follow.
The issue of anti-Semitism will be debated today at a conference being held in London by the Jewish Labour Movement. Among the speakers is the MP Dame Margaret Hodge, who's called Jeremy Corbyn an anti-Semite. The number of prison staff caught smuggling banned items into jails in England and Wales has risen sharply. In 2012, 45 members of staff were found bringing drugs and other contraband into prisons. Last year, that number had risen to 71. The figure, which is less than 1% of all prison staff, was obtained by the Observer newspaper. Peter Dawson, who's from Prison Reform Trust, says austerity is partly to blame.
What's happened over the last 5 or 6 years is that the decisions of successive governments have created a perfect market for drugs in prison. You have a huge number of people who have nothing to do, who have no hope, and for whom drugs is one way of making the time pass a bit quicker. And you have people on the outside who can make a huge amount of money by exploiting that market.